All right, so good morning and welcome everyone to Check Me. Another episode, another show we got going on for you guys this morning. So a couple topics we want to talk about. We want to talk about the NBA AllStar starters that have been announced. We want to talk about Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. We're going to go talk about a little baseball this morning. Yes, we are. And then we're going to cover some head coaching changes that have been happening in the NFL as of this week. So if you see the Maryland basketball, I am not a Terps fan. I never liked the Maryland Terps, but actually I did. I lied when I was super young because I pretty much grew up in Maryland. But I worked there, so I'm representing my job today. Big shout out to UMD. But let's hop right into it. So we want to talk about the NBA All-Star starters, and they officially were announced yesterday. And from the West, we have LeBron James, Ja Morant, Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins. And from the East, we got Kevin Durant, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, and DeMar DeRozan. So got some first-time stars on there. It's good to see Andrew Wiggins. You know, he's a former first-round draft pick with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he made it. Two Warriors made the All-Star starters. Wiggins has developed so much over time, and it's scary to think that's what's going to happen once Klay Thompson's fully back. If they have Wiggins, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, I mean, those four – and they have a deep bench. The Warriors are going to be really tough to beat. Even though NBA as well, too, is a game of matchups. No matter what you get to the NBA, it's about matchups. Joker, good to see him on there. Ja Morant. You know, Ja Morant, I mean, pretty much last year he could have been on there as well, too. I mean, Ja Morant's just a phenomenal ball player. He's been progressing in the league. He looks to be one of the pioneers. Once you see this wave of, like, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, them move out, this young wave of players coming in, so it's good to see him. LeBron and Kevin Durant actually got the most votes. So on the East, we have Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, and then DeMar DeRozan. So it's really also good to see DeMar DeRozan. He's been doing – I mean, Chicago has just been playing phenomenal, lights out. They have a good defensive squad there, and everyone seems like they're bought in. Trae Young, starter. Joel Embiid is having like an MVP season. Embiid's playing, some solid basketball. As a Sixers fan, I'm kind of concerned to see, because he's had injuries in the past, how well he holds up later in the season. It's still the first half of the season, but these are your starters. Couple notes. So you have the two NBA All-Star captains. So LeBron's going to be the captain of the West, and Kevin Durant's going to be the captain of the East. Both are 1 and 2 in points. Ever since LeBron James has came back from his injury, he's just been, tearing through the league. And I'm not sure if you heard, he said it's the best zone offense he's played in his career. He's playing off ball, and so he's just working in space. You really can't key on him with Davis getting back and Russ at the point. I also think once Davis meshes in a little bit well. I mean, that Lakers team could be scary. I still have faith in the Lakers doing well this year. So top five, all the top 5 points leaders made the All-Star game. Interesting. Trae Young's number 5 in points, and of course, Curry has been phenomenal. So they released a schedule as far as when the key dates are. So when they're actually going to release the reserves, and this is kind of big because this is where the controversy starts, right? You have a small amount of controversy, like, hey, who are the stars? So people are kind of like, okay, maybe they'll just make the All-Star team. But the reserves are going to be announced on February 3rd. The draft is actually going to happen, so the All-Star draft, right, where they pick, right, is going to be on February 10th, and then All-Star weekend is from the 18th to the 20th. So used to be All-Star week, but it's going to be All-Star weekend from February 18th to the 20th. So we still got a lot of basketball left, probably about 3 weeks left of good basketball before we actually play the game. So those are All-Star updates. I want to move on to coaching in NFL. So we saw some head coaches, some teams, the Bears and the Broncos fired some coaches yesterday. Matt Eberflus, the D coordinator for the Colts, he's coming over as the Bears head coach. Nathaniel Hackett, the Green Bay coordinator, is now going to be the coach of the Broncos. I also wanted to talk about the hiring. Who is it? For Mike McDonald for the Ravens as well. I think that's big, and I want to talk about that. And then also McCarthy. McCarthy, they actually brought McCarthy back. It makes sense, even though I'm pretty sure Dan Quinn is interviewing after that defense played, decent this year, played pretty good this year. You saw what happened in the playoffs, but, it's Dan Quinn. You saw what happened in the Super Bowl, right? I'm not sure if it was him in the Super Bowl, but you saw what happened, right? And then the Raiders did request an interview with Josh McDaniels. I thought that was interesting, after his debacle in coaching. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens, later on. But I did want to talk about the Bears. I think the main priority for the Bears right now is not necessarily getting a defensive-minded coach, but getting a coach that can resonate well with Justin Fields. This is your 14th, overall draft pick, and you're developing him is the most important thing right now for your franchise. You invested in Justin Fields, so I wasn't really impressed with Matt Eberflus. I mean, Matt Eberflus, I don't know. I wasn't really impressed with him. He's from the Nick Saban coaching tree. When Nick Saban was actually at Toledo, he was there. I think Belichick was there as well at Toledo as well. Was it Toledo? Yeah, I'm not sure. At Toledo with him as well too. So he's under Nick Saban's coaching tree, and then he interviewed with the Browns in 2019 when the defense had a solid year. But just looking at it, I mean, his defensive ranks. And so the Bears actually did interview quite a few people. So they interviewed Brian Flores, Leslie Frazier, Jim Caldwell, Todd Bowles, Dennis Allen. So they brought in some big names for this opportunity. I guess they feel he's the man for the job. But from a defense-wise, if you feel like defense is the most important thing, I mean, you have Khalil Mack there. Why waste his good years by playing on sorry teams? In 2018, he was 12th. 2019, he was 16th. 2020, he was 8th, and then 2021, last season, the Colts were ranked 16th in defense. So they gave much credit to him from that 2017 to that 2018 transition, getting the defense, in the top of the rank, top half of the rankings in the NFL. But I'm truly not impressed. He was never top 8 in defensive points as well too. So points allowed. So it'll be interesting to see how well the development of Justin Fields over the years, as well as how well he'll mesh with and the development of how well the defense will be progress, as well as how well he'll mesh with Justin Fields. So that'd be one thing to look at. The Broncos. So I really think the Broncos may have a new owner right now, because you don't hire a coach if you don't have a new owner, right? The old coach doesn't hire a new owner if he's on his way out. So if anybody knows, right now the Broncos ownership is up for sale. They actually hired Nathaniel Hackett from the Green Bay. He's their OC. Did okay. I mean, this year they were 10th in total offense. 2020 they were first. And then I'm sorry. This year they were 10th in total offense. 2020 they were first, and in 2018 they were 18th. Hey, it may be a safe pick. Maybe trying to get Rodgers. I'm not sure. But the ownership is up for sale, and there's been word going around that the Manning brothers, and then also Robert Smith, he's the CEO of Vista Equity Partners. He's actually a black man who might be the first black owner in the NFL, is looking to buy the franchise. So we'll be interested to see what happens with the Broncos. I don't know if you're going to a tough division, and I don't know if the Broncos are not part, because Rodgers said he doesn't want to go to a rebuild. If you think of it, that team really kind of is in a rebuilding phase. Next year they could potentially, make waves, but look at the division. They're in there with Kansas City, Vegas, Chargers, and Broncos. So that's a tough division. You had 3 teams who had a winning record. I don't think Rodgers is going there, going to fight especially through the AFC when the NFC is so weak right now. Through the AFC to get to the champion, to get to the Super Bowl. I personally think his best bet is just staying in Green Bay. But yeah, that's where they're at now. I did want to mention, so Wink, the Ravens D coordinator. I know people wanted to fire Greg Roman, but so basically the Ravens they hired a defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. He had been with the Ravens since 2004 with various positions. He left last year to actually coach defensive coordinator from Michigan. and this is with Jim Harbaugh. So Jim Harbaugh, of course, John Harbaugh, the Ravens head coach, Jim Harbaugh, they played in the Super Bowl, is at Michigan. Pretty much they bounced around this guy. Now he's going back, and they're bringing him in. I don't think they should have ever got rid of Don Martingale. I don't think they should have ever got rid of Wink. I mean, 2018 first in defense, 2019 fourth, 2020 seventh, 2021 24th. Now he's worked with makeshift players throughout. He's the GM. They've done a good job of getting some players in. But, I mean, this year, you think on the defense, they ended the season with Marlon Humphreys out on IR, Marcus Peters on IR, Tavon Young on IR, Anthony Avery on IR, Tyus Bowser on IR, Odafe Owe on IR, Darius Washington IR, LJ Fort IR, Khalil Dorsey IR. Half the stars were on IR. And then you're going to fire the man who's been a staple for that defense over the years. The coaching carousel in the NFL is just out of Wink. But I do think it's a good hire for the Ravens. I just don't think they should have got rid of a Wink, bringing back an old name. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I mentioned to see who the Giants hire. I have a heart for the Giants, so I kind of always want to see the Giants do well because I don't like the Cowboys, and the Washington fans have been obnoxious over the years. So I personally, if the Giants do well, hey, look, no harm, no foul. The last thing I want to talk about is Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. So you got two pioneers of baseball, of course, Barry Bonds, a.k.a. Balco, and Roger Clemens, who was, a pitcher who was using some type of cream, I think it was, or something like that, for steroids. Maybe that was Barry Bonds. But both in their 10-year run did not make the Hall of Fame. And what sucks is it's the writers. I think you should look at the players, but the Hall of Fame is based off your performance. No matter what sport you're in, it's based off your performance in the game, not off the field. So, yes, when you use steroids, it does breach the game. It does affect the game. So I think there's the asterisk next to these guys' names. They say, hey, look, you know what? They didn't. They abused the rules of the game, or they used something they didn't know. They still cheated. Just like the Olympics, they take your gold medal. I get that. I understand that. But if you got caught and you played and you still performed well, and you still had a solid career, because you're looking at Roger Clemens, 11-time All-Star, 7-time Cy Young, 2-time World Series champ, and a part of the All-Century team, but he doesn't make the Hall of Fame. And you got Barry Bonds, 14-time All-Star, 7 NFL MVPs, 8 Golden Gloves, 762 home runs, and of course he had that big year where he had 73 home runs, where it was literally like every game you were watching to see how, if Barry Bonds was going to hit one to break the record. Now, Mark McGwire back in 2004 or 2006, right, which is funny. I found out Mark McGwire had a brother who played quarterback in NFL. Guy was like 6'8", right? But Mark McGwire, who of course came out and said he used steroids, at the time the substance wasn't banned, which is kind of the same situation. The type of steroid that Barry Bonds was using was not banned. And then they said, hey, look, well, actually it is a steroid. And then, of course, there's like perjury in court because he said he didn't know that it was the type of cream he got from his trainer. They brought his trainer in court. So, but that there is a small window that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens can still make the Hall of Fame. So there's something called the Today's Game Committee, and they can actually vote people in. So in December 2023, or I think this year or next year, this December actually, upcoming December, not this past December, but December 2022, they can actually vote these two players in, and they can be inducted the following December. So the writers did not vote them in, but this committee can actually vote them in. So that's all the updates I have for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, definitely subscribe. I'm coming up with you with some sports updates every single day, and I do want to cover probably this weekend. I want to cover Cooper Kupp, and I really want to see how the Rams utilize him. But I want to go over some of his film to show you why Cooper Kupp may have performed the best this year, but he's not the best receiver or number one, I personally believe, on anybody's team. So, hey, look, thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy your Friday. Have a good time. I'm out.